You're listening to Covering the Field with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Covering the Field, the weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes and reviews predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about pro football, college football, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, NASCAR, and our You Got Host segment. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback, tell us your You Got Host stories, and visit our coveringthefield.com website. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. And a special thank you to all the firefighters and first responders battling the Nevada and California wildfires. Now, kicking things off this week, I'd like to introduce our National Football League expert, Charles O'Loughlin. How are you doing today, Charles?
I'm excellent, Joe. How are you doing today?
Terrific. Another week is in the books. In the National Football League, what caught your eye last weekend?
Well, Joe, you know, those Cowboys and the Panthers really started out strong, good game, and then the Cowboys started to pull away. You love to be able to see a team put up those kind of numbers, and also with the Panthers, they're coming through like we thought on the preseason and really showing out there. Other than that, that Arizona-Rams game was crazy. You know, Rams come off beating the Super Bowl champions at home. Arizona rolls in as an underdog and wins outright. You know, that it's almost kind of like the Hawks and the Niners over there, you know. The Niners were a home favorite, and they ended up losing, which could play into their favor because they're going into Arizona this week, you know, as underdogs. And Arizona's coming off a hot win, just like the Rams did off those Bucks. Maybe we can see an upset in Arizona this week.
Perhaps so. Arizona is third in the league in takeaways. Dallas, second in the league in takeaways. Buffalo leading the league in takeaways. And you notice those teams together are 10-2. So it's definitely a big factor.
Yeah, you know what else is crazy, Joe, is it almost gets you excited for playoff football this year. That it's going to be, I mean, the teams that are taking away the ball a lot are also putting up crazy amounts of numbers, you know, 30, 40 points a game. So it's going to be fun this year. It's a good season so far.
Yes, there were 5 undefeated teams going into last week. Now only one, Arizona.
Our gang.
A couple teams that hadn't won a game, like the Jets and Giants. So New York City off the Schneid, or should I say New Jersey off the Schneid, where the games are played. Tom Brady had his return to New England, won on a missed kick on the last play of the game. New England had -1 yard rushing. So that should have been a loss for Tampa Bay in reality. But anyway, and a positive note for Andy Reid, the first coach to win 100 games with 2 different teams. That's tough to do.
That's pretty awesome. Good for him.
That means you have to win 100 games, basically get fired, go to another team, and win another 100 games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really crazy. Good for him.
Yes. So there was some interesting occurrences last week. Baltimore tied the 1974-77 Pittsburgh Steelers with a record 43 consecutive games of 100 yards rushing, to the dismay of Denver head coach Vic Fangio, because the Ravens, instead of kneeling on the final play of the game, ran a play up by 16 points to tie that record. What's your take on that final play?
Good for the Ravens, Joe. You know, when I think of the Ravens, I think of hardcore football. You know, ever since I was a kid back in 2000 and Ray Lewis was running that squad, they've always been a tough-nosed, shut you up on the defense, and we're going to see, you know, how tough you are on the offense. We're going to run the ball up your throat. So good for them, you know, but that's the type of football they play. That's what you expect out of them. You know, that's also what I think when I think of the AFC North. It's the AFC North, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's full of mean guys up there, for sure. You know, teams that like to get nasty.
Well, Fangio thought that was kind of Bush League, running it up a little bit. Somebody might have got hurt, unnecessary. Most teams would have just knelt on it.
You know, sure, but once again, that's the AFC North, that's the Ravens, and when you have a chance to make history, tie history, honestly, this is the NFL, man. I don't care about your feelings. The game started out 0-0.
Nice. And of course, the other big story was Jacksonville head coach Urban Meyer not flying home with his team after a Thursday loss at Cincinnati, instead intending to visit with his family in Columbus, Ohio, but ending up on video dancing with a woman, you might say. As things went, what are your thoughts on what happened there?
Crazy, you would think him being such a high-profile guy, he would run with an entourage or have people around him so videos can't be taken or something. He's just caught in a bad situation. I mean, sometimes social media is not good, and social media got him this time.
So you felt that what he did was pretty, wrong, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, I mean, it's a professional athlete thing, man. He shouldn't have gotten caught, I guess, right? It's not cheating until you get caught, right? That's how the great saying goes.
Yes. Well, I have my own take on it. First of all, yes, he is married, and that was not his wife that was there. But he didn't go bar hopping, from what I understand. He wasn't out looking for chicks or anything. He was at his own bar and restaurant. He owns the place, so he has dinner and he stays for some music. Beautiful woman starts rubbing up against him, I mean.
Would you say no, Joe?
A very beautiful woman, if you've seen a picture of her. And to me, that's just dancing. Everybody had their clothes on, no sexual contact. Have you ever been in Jimmy G's here in town on a Friday night?
Yes,
Charles?
I have. Yes, I have.
It happens all the time, right?
All the time.
Yes. He's just a human being.
Exactly.
Right? So, hey, maybe things aren't all hunky-dory in the Meyer household either. He has been married for 35 years. So
absolutely.
Might want to have a little fun. So, personally, I don't have a problem with what happened. So that story to me is way overblown.
I have to agree with you, Joe. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors over there. So.
Yeah. Moving back to the games themselves, how did your pro picks do last week?
Really well. I took the Bucks under, the Bucks Pats under, that cashed in. I took the over on the boys in the Panthers game. I took the Cardinals on the money with the points. I won both of those. The only thing I lost on was I took the Chargers on the money and I parlayed it with an over. So I lost off on that one because the over didn't come through. And then I also lost on that Steelers-Packers game. I took the over at 45, and I think it finished at 37 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the final score actually on that one, but it did go under. It might have been only 27-17.
Yeah, something like that. It was
close.
It was.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, going into week 5, what new injuries or changes should we keep an eye on?
Yeah, so I'm still fading the Texans and the Jags. I mean, you may say the Jags barely lost to the Bengals, but the Bengals in the past 2 years have had top 5 picks in both drafts, so they're pretty bad too. When you're taking on the Texans, you're taking on the Patriots. I don't care if you're home, away, or, at a neutral site. I'm taking the 9 all day with the Pats. They can coach up. Defense is there. They're going to run the rock. Still fade the Jags, especially with all the drama with the head coach and the players. As long as you can get a good number there, fade them and watch out for those Chargers. We said at the beginning of the year, Joe, they're looking good, man. They I don't know, maybe the Raiders wet the bed a little bit, came in really hyped up. Raiders are really good too, and I hope you guys listened. That the Chiefs not to make the playoffs, 7-1 is looking really good right now. I know they're 2-2, but the teams they're beating aren't respectable teams. So watch out for them there too.
Yeah, the Raiders, I don't think they could have played any stupider than they did that first half.
Not, yeah.
Awful.
It was bad football for sure. And then other than that, no college picks this week, but I do want to tell you, I had a conversation with my producer last night. He's on it too. Take the Georgia Bulldogs, man, championship. You can get them at plus 140. That's what I got today. You're not going to get a better number, and I'm telling you, the way that defense plays ball, man, I don't think, the best quarterback in the country, whoever you may think that may be, I don't even think he'd stand a chance there. So grab them Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm all for that. That's an amazing defense, no question. So Yes, Justin Fields is now going to be the starter in Chicago. That's been made official today. Stephen Gilmore has been traded from the Patriots to the Panthers. That leaves some salary cap space for Jamie Collins to come back to New England, who just got let go. So it seems like everybody's going to be happy with these changes here that are happening this week. As far as the injuries, David Montgomery for the Bears is out for 3 games. Time to get Damian Williams on your fantasy football team, maybe. And you have Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle questionable this week. Garoppolo didn't look like he was going to be able to play for like 3 weeks at first, but it looks like he's going to get possibly on the field by next week. So is that all your point spread predictions?
For this week, the ones I'm willing to give out, you want my 5-star picks, you want my teaser, you got to come to coverinthefield.com, check those out. You know, the first week I put which was week 3, we went 5-0. You know, so follow me on Cover the Field, and college basketball and NBA is right around the corner too, Joe. So, you know, a lot of people can get good information on futures and stuff there for spreads and points over there.
Right. Well, I'll have to give you my picks. And yes, we have been talking about the Chargers all season. It opened at a pick'em home against Cleveland. It's up to 1.5 as far as yesterday. I don't know what it is at this exact moment here, Wednesday afternoon. But Cleveland, it doesn't seem like they can score. They're in deep trouble. Only 3 points in the second half last week. Nice defense, but the Chargers should certainly outscore them this week.
Let me ask you this question, though, Joe. How much do you give to the other defense and the coaching staff, maybe making adjustments or it just being a dogfight game?
The Minnesota, Cleveland?
Yeah.
I wasn't too impressed with Minnesota's defense, especially when they played like Arizona and whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
So there are games where you can score on Minnesota. Cleveland, they're in deep trouble with Mayfield. The other game I like, Buffalo +3 and over 57 in Kansas City. We were talking about that too. Kansas City could easily be 2-3 after this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely take the over on that. I don't see their defense really stepping up, but that, I mean, you know, Chris Jones is nasty for that Kansas City squad, so that does worry me there. But yeah, that's going to be a hell of a game.
It's going to be a great game. I believe it's the Sunday night game too, so that should be awesome. And one final pro note, the New York Jets and Atlanta are playing in London at 6:30 Sunday morning, so plan accordingly on your wagering there. Thank you, Charles, and we'll be looking forward to having you on again to talk some more pro football.
Thank you, Joe.
Now, moving on to the college ranks, we have our NC2A football analyst, Big Richard Martin. How's it going today, Richard?
It's going great, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show.
So, Big Rich, what big happened last week in college football?
Well, we made a little bit of money if you listen to my picks. 6-2-1, and if you got Texas at 4.5, that was 7-2. So, you know, my girlfriend's very, very happy. She thinks we might be able to go on vacation after football season if we keep this up.
How about the top of the rankings? You're looking at, Alabama, Georgia. We had Oregon number 3 last week. Iowa, Penn State, Cincinnati.
Yeah, Oregon dropped after that loss. They dropped to 8. Iowa moved to 3. Penn State 4. Cincinnati's hanging in there at 5. The Rodney Dangerfield of the NCAA. They can't get any respect. They just stomped Notre Dame at Notre Dame, South Bend, and you got to give these guys some respect because that's a good team.
Yeah. Well, I'm sick of Alabama. I don't want to see them win. So seeing Georgia play as well as they do, it seems to me that all their players are draftable.
Absolutely.
Next year.
Absolutely. And you look at, Georgia's got that defensive tackle, Jordan Davis. He's 350 pounds, 6'7", and he was clocked at 20 miles per hour running on the football field. So, I mean, that is not even humanly possible, I don't think. And I don't know if that guy should be your first-round pick, I think, because he's going to establish in the NFL the same way.
So I was watching the Oregon-Stanford game, and Stanford has the ball with 1 minute left, down 7 points. All the momentum's going in Oregon's favor. And then I come back later, and I see the end of the game, the final score, and they lost. There was some kind of untimed play or something. Did you watch the end of that game?
I didn't see the end of the game. I saw the end of the score there, Joe. So, yeah, I mean, you got to play the full amount. I mean, if you don't get it unplayed, I mean, you're at home, you got to win that game. And, I think they should have dropped further down than 8. Losing again.
I guess there were like 2 or 3 penalties on that drive that aided Stanford's drive on that. But so that's 2016, the last time a Pac-12 team has been in the 4-team playoff, and they won at Ohio State, got themselves in position number 3, and now the Pac-12 looks like they're going right back where they've been the last few years, probably not getting a team in there.
You know, they're looking for the Rose Bowl maybe, have a nice little game against somebody in the Big Ten.
Yep. Cincinnati definitely looks awesome. I mean, they could beat Alabama, maybe Georgia. It's possible.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that, Joe, because, you know, Cincinnati is sitting at 5. Now, Iowa and Penn State are playing this week, so one of those teams is going to lose, you know, and so Cincinnati will move into the top 4, but can they stay there? You have Oklahoma's undefeated. You have Michigan undefeated. You have Michigan State undefeated. You know, can they keep it up? Can somebody get in there? I mean, they say that right now, you already know Georgia and Alabama are on their way to getting locking 2 of those spots. It looks like that's pretty much going to happen. I see them playing in the SEC championship. Then I see them playing again in the Final Four. So that only leaves one spot. You have Penn, because you have an 83% chance that someone from the Big 12 is going to get that other spot with everybody undefeated. And if Ohio State runs the table, they might not even knock off Cincinnati to get there. So I'm telling you right now, I love this kid, Desmond Riddler. He has moved up to 15-1 odds. You can get him right now to win the Heisman Trophy. And he's playing great. And, you know, the coach over there, Luke Fickell, knows he has to put a lot of points on the board to start getting some recognition to get secure that 4th spot. So I'm saying take Cincinnati and give those points because they're going to run it up. The coach knows what he has to do to get there. So I'm all in on the Bobcats, and I think that that's a good bet. I even took it today. I got that 15-1.
All right. I do need you to remind me when Penn State has one of those night whiteout games to definitely bet on Penn State. That crowd was amazing. I don't know if you saw that. But,
yeah. Well,
it's a crazy place.
Well, this year they're in Iowa, so you know, and so you know you have that children's hospital that looks over the field there in Iowa. That's just one of the greatest things about college football. So you know that's always a big game right there, and you know this is going to be for who's going to be in the driver's seat for the Big Ten.
And last but not least, our beloved Nevada won at Boise State for like the second time in like 18, 19 years.
I know, and if you remember last week, I told you to take Nevada at 2 plus 205. You get double money. I did. Like I said, the way we're going with Nevada, we might have a nice vacation at the end of the year if you keep it up.
Mm-hmm. And one final note, in the first 4 weeks, 25 ranked teams have lost, which is the most ever in like the history
one of them
rankings.
Or Georgia or Alabama.
No, or Cincinnati or Oklahoma.
Right, exactly.
But some of them have lost twice. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And if you don't want to see Alabama lose, you might want to just sleep in and just leave your TV off because they're probably going to win just about every Saturday coming up. So
yes.
I love Alabama. They do have some injuries. I want to report that Drew Sanders, their linebacker, their Mike linebacker that's take over for Chris Allen, who's out for the year. He has a broken hand. He's having hand surgery this week. He's questionable, so they might just put a glove on. I don't know, but he's probably going to be out. And they also lost Jace McLean, their backup running back to Brian Robinson. So he was the Lightning with the Thunder and Lightning out there in Alabama, and he's out for the year with a knee injury. Also, LSU's cornerback Stingley, he's out with a foot injury. He's out for 4 to 5 weeks. And JT Daniels did not throw this week during throwing drills because of an upper oblique problem. But I think he'll cowboy up and he'll play this week against Auburn.
And the Indiana quarterback,
Michael Penix is out for the year again. So he's like he had an ACL injury. Now he's got a shoulder injury.
Are you sure he pronounces it Penix?
Well, that's how I pronounce it.
It looks like Penix to me, but
well, I don't think I can say that with Carlos here.
You have to smile when you say that.
Yeah, and there's also look at this. We have just flashing news here. Just came in the NFL report. There's Urban Meyer's character is out for the rest of the season. He was last under center at his own chop house. You got to those guys that were filming it were amazing. I saw that on. I mean, they should be working for Monday Night Football, man. They had every angle on that guy. That poor guy. They had their cell phones out, and as Ricky Ricardo would say to Lucy, "You got some explaining to do," to his wife at home for sure.
Well, I want to party with Urban, so I wouldn't mind meeting him one day. Promise. But, no doubt.
Okay.
We have a note that there is a whiteout November 13th against Michigan coming up.
Oh, would that be a great game? Huh?
So that's going to be pretty amazing. Something definitely to look forward to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, Big Rich, what college games will you be wagering on this weekend?
Like I told you, I love Cincinnati. They're giving 29. It's a lot of points. It seems like when you give those points that, it's like that team gets the, they're hosting Temple, so this is like Temple's Super Bowl. They get to get on TV and they might rise up. But I'm gonna keep saying that this kid's gonna throw the ball. Desmond Ridler's they're gonna have to add the points to keep their, their national championships dreams alive. Alabama's taken 2 injuries. They're at 17.5. So I'm still going to roll with Alabama, even though they have their injuries. Texas A&M's a mess. Their quarterback situation is just terrible. They will have the 12th man, but they're going to need at least the 13th or 14th man out there to, compete with Alabama. Yeah, Nick Saban's, record against his assistant coaches that went on to head coaches is like 33-0. They just can't beat. He's Yoda. It seems like they can't beat the master. So you also have Georgia. As we talked about, their great defense. They're at 14.5 with Auburn. I'm going to take Georgia. I'm rolling with Alabama and Georgia. And this one, Iowa is at home. It's such a tough game, but I'm thinking it's going to, I like to under in that, but let's take Penn State. I think Penn State gets it done at Iowa. This is their year, and they know that they're trying to get, Iowa State's definitely vulnerable. They have to win this. Both teams know they have to win this game, so it should be a good game. But I'm going to take the dog. I'm going to take the 1.5 with Penn State. We also have undefeated BYU playing Boise State and BYU's at home, and so they'll have their own white out there and in Provo, Utah. So let's go ahead and roll with the Cougars again. And then Kentucky is -3.5, and they're hosting LSU. Kentucky's also undefeated. They're 5-0. And, they're trying to, compete with Georgia. They got to win, and I'm just going to roll with Kentucky on that one.
Well, you're in trouble with a couple of your picks because I'm betting them too, and my picks haven't been that great. I love Alabama and Georgia. The way we've been talking, how dominant they are. Texas A&M hasn't been playing well at all.
No, they've been, they've struggled with, Colorado. They struggled with Arkansas. This is just not. There's never a good week to play Alabama, but this definitely isn't a good week to play Alabama for them.
Well, how good is Auburn?
Well, Auburn did beat LSU, and that was a close game.
Okay.
So, I think they're going to cover that 15.5 by halftime. I think you'll have enough points by halftime if JT Daniels can play.
Well, even with the backup, they won, 37-0 or something like
exactly,
that?
Exactly. 37, and they had the backup in there, and, they just ran the ball. They were able to control that Arkansas defense, and they shouldn't have any problems with Auburn.
Well, I like those two, and I have another opportunity to bet against Florida State in North Carolina, -17. I'm not exactly sure how good North Carolina is, but I know Florida State is terrible.
Sam Howard was one of the favorites to win the Heisman. They struggled at Virginia Tech. They lost another game down the road, so they got 2 losses. I think that's a good bet there. Anytime the Florida State's playing, it's a good bet.
Florida State won last week, home against Syracuse, did not cover the spread. That was their celebration for a couple weeks, maybe
the whole. It was also your celebration because you're definitely been going again.
Yep.
So it's good.
Yeah, my picks went 3-3 last week.
Good.
I think I went 2-2 on the show. But yes. Well, I should also ask, do you have any pro predictions for this week?
Yeah, I want to put also another injury, a real injury report. Big Ben Roethlisberger is on the questionable for this week. Do you know who the backup quarterback is for them? And don't say Charlie Badge.
Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph's the backup, and Dwayne cut Haskins. So.
Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, it might be him.
Right. Right now there is Mason Rudolph's number 2.
Okay.
He'll get the nod if Big Ben can't go, but they're also missing 2 offensive tackles. Rashad Coward has an injury in Okofar. Their starting offensive tackles under concussion protocol. So also they're playing the Broncos. They're dropping a point. I'm going to take the Broncos, even though Teddy Bridgewater is under concussion protocol. Graham Glosson, their starting guard, didn't play last week, and he's questionable this week with an ankle injury. And Dalton Rising has a knee injury, their other starting guard. So they're banged up too. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's 40.5, so I think the under is a great bet on that game because it seems like neither one of those offenses is going to have success with their backups in there. But I do like the Broncos to cover that. And I'm going to go with the Raiders against Chicago. Justin Fields. told us, he had a good game last week, but he still hasn't proven himself. He's going to the black hole. Raiders got something to prove. I'm pretty sure Chucky's upset with that team, and he's going to have them ready to play. Dallas, they're dropping 7. I'm taking Dallas every week until they prove me wrong. I mean, they won the first quarter, second quarter, third. Well, they were actually down at halftime, but they came back and had a great second half. Dak Prescott, just probably playing the best I've ever seen him play. I love the Cowboys dropping that 7 at home.
Yeah, the reason they were losing at halftime, they went for 2 because they moved down to the 1 yard line.
And that was like, we had one of those guys with the phone there. It was at Urban Meyer's bar. I got a better view of the play because I thought he was in, but. It was very close to the tight end on that 2-point conversion to Schultz.
Yeah, they seem to be getting the raw deal on those. When the week before, Prescott scored on that quarterback sneak,
Sure.
and they didn't give him that one either. But Schultz, I could see where they said, okay, he was short by an inch. All right, fine. But
and then you got Baltimore. They're dropping 7 at home against Indy. Indy's on their 3rd straight road game. They don't have, who's their quarterback? Wentz. He's not even listed on the first time. He's not been on the injured list this week so far. So he'll be healthy, but I think Baltimore just they look really good against Denver. They went into Denver, and I think they're just not have any problems. They're going to double-digit wins against. You might want to get that 7 before it goes up to 7.5.
Well, that'll do it.
That's it for college this week, buddy.
Well, thank you, Big Richard, and we'll have you on later in our You Got Ho segment.
All right, thank you.
Here today to talk about the baseball playoffs is our Major League reporter, Ronnie McKinnon. How goes it today, Ronnie?
Joe, I'm doing cool. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So what happened in the world of baseball last week, and who ends up playing who in the playoffs?
Well, this is like a really exciting time of year for baseball. So last week on the show, it was still 5 games to go. I did predict New York and Boston to win the wild cards and play each other, and Boston to win, and they did last night 6-2. So they will move on, and they'll end up playing Tampa Bay. Then we have Chicago. The White Sox will be at Houston. In the National League, here in a couple hours, it'll be the Cardinals in LA against the Dodgers. Atlanta will be at Milwaukee, and then the winner of the Dodgers and St. Louis will play the Giants starting on Friday.
Yes, the Dodgers' streak of winning 8 straight division titles is over. Kind of a shock. Would they win like 106 games?
Right, yeah. They won 106 games, and
that has to be a record.
Yeah, well, it is, and the last couple years, winning over 100 games, that hasn't happened in a long, long time. Or ever actually, 2 years in a row after winning the World Series and then winning over 100 games the next years. So yeah, and the Giants just had a really great year. Nobody expected it. They won 107 games. So. Yeah, it's kind of tough having to play a wild card game, and I think I told you before I'm not a big fan of the wild card one game, and it's just ridiculous, to play the whole season. Not just because of the Dodgers, I mean anybody, to play one game, anybody can win one game to decide, who goes to the divisional round. So, it should be a 3 out of 5 also. And you'd think baseball would want that, just more money, more advertising.
At least we can go 2 out of 3.
Well, at the very least,
3 out of
but
5.
there's no reason not to go to 3 out of. I mean, yeah, then we go into, might go into more of November, but so what?
Yeah. Well, maybe the pitchers are resting too much. Is that a possibility? Getting rusty?
No, I don't really. I mean, people will point to that. And say, oh, that's why they lost. They waited too. I don't. It can kind of happen during a game. If you score a bunch of runs it happens almost all the time. You score a bunch of runs in your half of the inning, and the pitcher's sitting there waiting and happy that his team's scoring runs, but he sits there for a long time, goes out, and almost inevitably they have a rough inning that inning and give up a run or maybe more. So.
Yes, it's possible that the Dodgers and Giants will meet like the old school way, they wouldn't allow two teams from the same division meet in the first round. So if the wild card winner was, like in this case, supposed to play the best team, they would not play the best team. The first and third would play each other, and the
Right.
second and fourth would play each other.
Right.
So it's going to be kind of a shame, for sure. One of these 106 or 7
Right.
game is going to be out next round.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. That's
If not by the end of tonight, one of them. It's possible.
that it's possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
That tonight's game, two really good pitchers. Obviously, Scherzer had a couple rough outings, but he'll be fine. And Wainwright for the Cardinals. So it's going to be it'll be a good game. It's in LA. I totally believe the Dodgers will win tonight.
Wainwright, the ageless one,
Yeah, he's 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 40 years
signed
old.
on for next year already.
Yes, sir.
What I was noticing, Tampa Bay, this salary that they have, $76 million salary, and they're the best team in the American League. The Yankees, $203 million salary, and they're already knocked out.
Yeah, I know those kind of things get brought up. The Dodgers have the biggest payroll. It doesn't really matter. You have to play together as a team, and good management, good coaching, and you can spend all the money in the world, and it doesn't mean you're going to win. So.
Yes, Tampa Bay is 26th in salary. No superstars, obviously, on their team. The Dodgers, $261 million. That's way more than
Yeah.
the Yankees.
Yeah.
In fact, Trevor Bauer and Clayton Kershaw together make $69 million
Right.
a year, and they're not even playing.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost Bauer and to that situation, and Kershaw just the Friday night, and re-injured, and he's not gonna be able to make it. So.
I might say that in this case, it does help to have a little extra spending money when your two best pitchers or two of your best pitchers are completely out. But
Well,
just my
exactly,
opinion.
yeah, and luckily, we got Scherzer at the break, and especially Trey Turner too. What a huge pickup, that. Everybody talks about Scherzer, but Trey Turner, led the National League and the whole major leagues in batting average, and steals a lot of bases and plays a good defense, even though he's actually playing second base instead of shortstop where he usually plays, because we have Seager there.
Right? Are there any other injuries that could affect play of this round?
Well, Brandon Belt got hurt, and he's going to miss.
San Francisco.
The Giants, I'm sorry, yes. The first baseman, he's going to, they say, a significant amount of time. So could he make it before, if they go past the division series? It's possible, I guess. Broke his right thumb on his hand. Yeah, I think it was. So yeah, that's pretty big. And of course, Max Muncy for us, that's really big. He hit 36 home runs and plays a great first base. He's day to day though, so hopefully nothing broke. So hopefully he'll be able to play.
But what about the story about this Milwaukee reliever? Drank a little too much and got a little upset?
Yeah, Williams, yeah. Relief pitcher, a good one for them. Yeah, he punched the wall and, yeah, pretty crazy.
Had they explained why he was so angry?
Oh, no, that was when they had just clinched, I think, clinched the division.
Yes. So they're drinking, they're happy.
He wasn't angry. It was like
He punched a wall.
Yeah, he hit the wall
in celebration.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right.
It's
not too bright.
Yeah, it's crazy. J.D. Martinez, the Boston DH, designated hitter. He's day to day, but it's amazes me sometimes how these guys get hurt. He was running out to his position in right field and tripped over second base.
Kind of a superstition of his to step on second base.
I didn't read anything about that.
He
but
just wasn't looking.
He just ran out there and
wow.
A minor injury, but he hasn't been playing. I mean, he didn't play yesterday in that game, and he's day to day. So
Well, now it's time to get into the predictions. Who's going to advance to the league championship series, and in how many games?
Well, I believe, I think we hit, the Dodgers will win tonight.
So they'll play San Francisco.
And they will play San Francisco, and San Francisco will have home advantage, and that's the divisional round, 5 games.
You've got the Dodgers winning because you've already picked the Dodgers.
I think they
Tampa
will.
Bay.
I think they will win 3-2.
Oh,
And,
nice long series.
yeah.
Good.
Well, yeah, and so I believe that. I believe that Houston will end up beating Chicago tonight, though. Chicago could very well win with Lance Lynn on the mound, even though they're in Houston. I think Houston will end up winning that that division round 3-2.
Okay, another 5-game series. That sounds great.
Yeah, and then of course Boston will be playing Tampa Bay. In Tampa Bay, Boston has not, as of right now, picked who's going to pitch tomorrow or Friday. But I think Tampa Bay will end up winning that series.
I didn't see Chris Sale on the on
no,
the roster.
he is not. Chris
that's-
Sale is not.
All that effort he put in to
That's
come,
yeah,
to come
that's
back.
right. Yeah, they are without him, and
That leaves Milwaukee, Atlanta.
right, Milwaukee, Atlanta. I think Milwaukee will win that series, and I also think that will be 3-2.
That seems like, assuming the Dodgers win, you're going to be picking all the favorites. Because the Dodgers will certainly be favored over the Giants, right?
Well,
Of course.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you look at the Giants won the division and won 107 games, and but I would think, I would think the Dodgers probably will still be picked.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
You're going very-
maybe not. I'm picking them, but
Yeah, you're going very chalky there, but that's fine if that's what you think is going to happen. That's it could very well end up being that way. I certainly love Milwaukee and
Yeah.
Houston and
yeah.
you know,
Milwaukee's got
that's,
great
that's
pitching.
easy.
Obviously, so did the Dodgers.
Tampa Bay looks pretty amazing, and
Yeah.
I want to pick San Francisco.
Well, I
Just
mean, look what they
'cause,
did.
I'm
They
just
really
rooting for
didn't
'em.
go through a slump at all this year. I mean, 162 game season, and which nobody expected them to do what they've done. Nobody, every Giant fan anywhere didn't expect this. And you got to give them credit and management, and we'll see what happens.
That's going to be the same World Series we had last year.
That's what I'm
Dodgers,
predicting.
Rays.
I'm predicting Tampa Bay and LA. Yes,
All right.
I am.
Are there any particular pitchers or matchups? I mean, you don't have any matchups, obviously, yet, but are there any particular pitchers we should be betting on? You said Lance Lynn is probably a pretty
for
good
the
one.
White Sox.
Or against, perhaps, maybe one that you think is probably not going to win?
Even though he had a couple of rough starts, his last 2, Scherzer for the Dodgers, he's going to be. I think he'll be great tonight. And some of the other ones, it's hard to say. Valdez for Houston, pitching in the second game. Yeah, I believe they'll win that game.
All right. So that first game will be key. Because if
Yeah, the
Chicago
first-
doesn't win that one with Lance Lynn, then they're in deep trouble. I
Right,
think.
and I think they have a real good shot at winning that first game, even though they are in Houston. And Houston can hit, but I think that'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Okay. Well, were there any regular season statistical leaders worth mentioning, or do you have any
Well, sure,
predictions for these major awards that have not
Let's,
been announced yet?
quick the batting average. Gurriel for Houston led the league in batting, and Trey Turner for the Dodgers led the National League. Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Salvador Perez from Toronto and Kansas City, respectively, both hit 48 home runs to tie. So that's, and then Tatis for the National League hit 42 to lead the National League in home runs. Salvador Perez, Kansas City, led in RBIs, and Adam Duvall for Atlanta led in RBIs for the National League. Starling Marte led in stolen bases at 47. And Trey Turner for the Dodgers led the National League with 32. Now ERA, Robbie Ray for Toronto led the ERA for the American League, and actually Corbin Burns for Milwaukee got ahead of Scherzer there because Scherzer had a rough couple outings, and he led the National League in ERA very close with Burns, Scherzer, and even Buehler. I would say, Cy Young right now, I think a good chance for Robbie Ray for Toronto. And the National League, I think it might be Zach Wheeler from Philadelphia. And when you come to MVP, I think Ohtani's going to win it in the American League. And it looks like the National League's pretty tight with, Harper, Bryce Harper, and even from Philly, and Soto from Washington. And Tatis is in there from San Diego. So.
All right.
Oh, we had one 20-game winner this year, and the only one in both leagues. It was Urias for the Dodgers. And the strikeout leaders was Robbie Ray for Toronto and Zach Wheeler from Philadelphia in the National League. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Ronnie, for your insight. And we'll have you on again next week to talk some more Major League Baseball.
Right on. Thanks, Joe.
Our final guest today is hockey fan Gator Gates. How are you feeling today, Gator?
Oh, I'm great, Joe. Thank you so much.
The National Hockey League season starts on Tuesday. And last week we made predictions about the Eastern Conference. In respect to the Western Conference, and specifically the Central Division, who is going to win it and who is going to make the playoffs, and who are good at over and under points bets.
Okay, well, Joe, who I like to win out of the Central would be Colorado Avalanche, of course. They're at a minus 210, and the next one that's next to them would be Minnesota at 6-1. So even Vegas says Colorado is going to win it pretty much hands down. Now, as far as the over and under on the Avalanche, it moved up 2 points, Joe, to 110.5. So I'm going to take the under. 110 points is a lot. And let's see, the teams that I like besides the Colorado Avalanche, Joe, is Minnesota, Dallas, and Nashville. I think those three teams are going to make the playoffs, and I'm not sure how they're going to be seeded. There's going to be a battle all year. I think the Central Division, besides Colorado and besides Arizona, all the way down to, you got Minnesota, Dallas, St. Louis, Nashville, Winnipeg, and Chicago. It's going to be great to watch to see which ones of those teams make the playoffs.
Well, I'm a Dallas fan, and I picked them to win the Cup 2 years ago. Went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Last year had COVID issues. How strong do you really think they are? I'm kind of curious.
We had this discussion before, Joe, about Minnesota, and I told Joe, I said, every year I think Minnesota is going to do great, and they are just mediocre. But what I find out is that the last month of the season, they start playing like I expected them to play all year. Call me a sucker, Joe, but looking at the stats, I'm going to have to go with Minnesota again. I think it's going to go Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas, and Nashville as the tops in the Central.
And what kind of goaltending does Dallas have this year? Do you know? Same guys as last year?
Yeah, Joe, they still have a few goalies that are great. Bishop, Holtby, and Point. Point is very iffy. He's pretty young, and I'm not exactly sure if he's going to come in right away or not, but they are pretty high on Point. Holtby, he's been in the league for a while. Can they keep up with Minnesota? Again, I want to say they can't, but every year we go through this with Minnesota as always being mediocre. Maybe Dallas later on can get somebody in there that can help them out. I just have a really hard time putting Dallas up there.
Fair enough. Any other over and under points bets in the Central?
Yeah, I would say that Arizona is at a 68.5. I would take the over. Arizona is at 100-1 to win the division, and I think that's a little disrespectful. I think they're a little bit better than the Buffalo Sabres are.
Yeah, they were close to making the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Right to the very last week. they had a shot.
Now, Colorado did get their goalie, though. So Joe Sakic, the general manager of the Avalanche, he sold the whole house to get this guy. So
Okay.
Dempster.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So,
So that's 2 points for a win, whether it be overtime or any kind of win. 1 point for an overtime or shootout loss. Add up the points. You come up with a
68.
number.
Yeah, and 68.5 is very low for this team. That's giving them no respect. I don't think they're going to be last in the Central, I feel, but they're not that terrible.
Right. So that leaves just the Pacific Division. Who is taking it? Who will reach the postseason? And who's a good over-under?
Looking at the Pacific, Joe, I only see 2 teams that are going to make the playoffs, and that would be Vegas and Edmonton. Who's going to win it? I think Edmonton has a way better team than Vegas does. And the Knights are at a minus 200 to win that division, and Edmonton's at 8.5. I like Edmonton. I think them losing Andre Fleury to Chicago is really going to hurt them. I know Leitner is a good goalie. I just think that Edmonton's more physical and a better team all around.
Yes, Connor McDavid, best player in hockey.
Yes.
Didn't make the playoffs last year, but you have him going straight up to winning the division.
Yes, I do. They're probably the best. The Canadians are going to get mad at me for saying that I think Edmonton's better than Toronto.
Yeah, well, I could see that. Toronto's, like you were saying last week, usually overrated. So this would be no different.
No different.
It sounded like I counted only 6 teams in the West, though, that you had for sure making the playoffs. So there's it's a crapshoot, basically.
Sure. The ones that I did not mention would be Winnipeg. I think. Actually, let me go through the list. I got in the playoffs. The seeds are going to be Colorado, Edmonton, Vegas, Chicago 4th.
Wow, Chicago making it. Okay.
Well, they got
Fleury.
Andre Fleury,
There you
exactly.
go. All right.
Then we get to Minnesota and Dallas, 5th and 6th, and you can put Dallas over Minnesota.
Okay.
And 7th
I
is
will.
going to be Winnipeg, and 8th is probably going to be either Nashville or Seattle. Seattle got Grubauer, and Grubauer is a really good playoff goalie. Kind of iffy during the regular season, so
Seattle making the playoffs their first season, just like Vegas did. What was that, 4 years ago? Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. Well, that would be an upset, I would think, because they didn't let them get the farm like they let Vegas. They shut that down quite a bit.
Yeah, they didn't go out and spend the money, Joe. They had a chance to get Price. They had a chance to go get Landeskog, and they chose to
Build,
not to spend them.
basically.
Yeah, to build, and I think that's the way to go. I think Vegas just got lucky. I really do.
Well, Vegas is still a pretty darn strong team, and the book certainly think so, because here they are as the favorite.
Yeah, correct, Joe.
Okay. So, who will be the winner of the Western Conference?
Well, I would have to say that Colorado is going to be the winner, Joe.
Yes. Well, you are a fan too.
Yes, I'm a very big fan. Edmonton could beat Colorado. They have a better physical appearance, more so than Colorado. Colorado is just really fast, but Vegas was fast too last year, and we saw that Price kept Vegas at bay that whole series. So yeah, Edmonton could beat Colorado, but I'm going to go with Colorado. They have a lot more skilled players, I think.
And most importantly, who are you predicting to win this year's Stanley Cup?
Oh, Joe, you're going to make me say it.
Colorado. Say it.
No.
No.
Boston.
Oh my God, my favorite team.
They
You
had-
like the East to be stronger than the West.
No, I think the
No.
West is stronger than the East. But I think Boston has the right chemistry to go through the playoffs. This is Tuukka Rask's probably last time that he's going to be able to have a chance, I believe, to win the Stanley Cup. And I think that they actually deserve it. Boston the last couple of years, I think got hosed a little bit.
They got hosed on that COVID situation.
Yes, they sure did. So,
When Rask decided to go back to Finland and not finish the season.
correct. So, yeah, I think they're due. Because if they don't do it this year, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just think that this is the year that they have to do it. Or
They had Halak in goal also. That was a pretty good goaltender. Hopefully he's still there again. But anyway.
But they play. You want to know how to play playoff hockey? Because I keep telling everybody, there's a difference between regular season and playoff hockey. And you watch how Boston plays hockey.
So how about the crowds attending the games this year? How different will things be this year as opposed to last?
Well, Joe, out of the 32 teams, 31 will be at full capacity, which is very good news. But while Vancouver Canucks are going to be at 50% of capacity due to their health orders in Vancouver. Now, 22 teams will have some type of mask rules, and 16 stadiums will require proof of vaccination shots or a negative COVID test result. Now, Madison Square Gardens mandates that every fan aged 12 and older provide proof of vaccination, at least the first shot. Other fans have to wear a mask, as well as children 2 through 11, except for when they are eating and drinking. Most of it is due to the New York mandate on indoor group activities. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh will not require fans to be vaccinated or tested or wear a mask.
Well, that's certainly a big difference. So I'm going to make my prediction now. Of course, I'm just going to pick my favorite teams, and since you picked Boston, I'm going to have to also pick Boston, and I'm hoping Dallas gets in there.
And that hurts, Joe. That just does hurt.
Well, at least you're being honest.
Well, you can't. Don't bet with your heart. Bet with your head.
You know, the Islanders is my other pick, right behind Boston.
Very good team. Very great team, actually.
Yes, those are the 3 teams I put money on. So, Gator, I know you also follow NASCAR, and right now we're in the middle of the playoffs. What happened last week at the largest track on the circuit, Talladega?
Well, Bubba Wallace won the race. It was his first since Michigan in 2017, and that was in the Truck Series. Now, he did have to drive through a crash and go to the front of the field 5 laps before the rain stopped the race, and that's how he got the win. Brad Keselowski said after Bubba passed for the lead, I quote, "I was thinking, oh geez, I wish I would have made that move. It was the right move at the right time." Michael Jordan said in a tweet, "From the day we signed him, I knew Bubba had the talent to win, and Denny and I could not be more proud of him."
Denny Hamlin,
Correct.
part owner of the car.
Now, Joe, Bubba didn't even have a shop or a crew last year.
Right. Well, yes, he was. Bubba Wallace became the second black driver to win a race, and he won at odds of 25-1. But he does have a good car. It's not a super surprise, I guess. He would win, especially on a track like this, where you get a lot of upsets. Big wreck. The rain came. Timing was good. No lights at Talladega. So they just got to a point to declare the winner, and Wallace wasn't first at the time.
Yeah, they were on the track for 45 minutes trying to dry it, so they were trying to get that race in. But another thing, Joe, is the 2311 team, which is what Bubba is driving for, will expand to 2 cars next season, with Kurt Busch moving over to join them. I love how the 2311 racing is advancing and how fast they are moving forward.
No, Kurt Busch is a real good driver. He's won the championship before. So, yes, Wallace is the first black winner since Wendell Scott in 1963. So it's been a long time. So what do we look forward to next week?
Okay, well, we're heading down to Charlotte, Joe, and it's going to be that road course that they have there.
Roval.
Roval, correct. And
half road, half oval.
a lot of crazy things happen during that race all the time. Anything that will is very possible. So it's very hard to determine who's going to win. But Larson and Elliott are the favorites there.
Because of the road part.
Because of the road part, correct.
Yes, they are the best road racers.
Joe, I'm going to go with Truex. Truex is 5.5 to 1, and I don't know. I just like Truex. I think it's time for him to shine.
And he's the third favorite.
And
yeah.
He's the third favorite.
If you're not going to pick one of the top 2, that's what they do in horse racing. If you can't pick between the 2 favorites, pick the long shot.
The third one.
Or the third long
The-
shot.
Yeah.
Not a horrible long shot. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for. The stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So, Big Richard, let's hear your You Got Hosed story for this week.
Well, actually, I got paid. I didn't get hosed this week. I had some great picks, and hopefully some of you listeners out there got those picks and got paid too. But one section I'll put in there that got hosed is the Dodgers. I mean, how do they have 106 wins?
Yeah.
And 106 wins, and they got to play a wild card game. I mean, they're right now favored to win the World Series, so they have to play a one-game play-in. So if anybody got hosed, it would have been the Dodgers. So I'll put that out there. If you had a first half over with the Georgia game, it was 24.5, and it was 24 with like 9 minutes left, and no one scored again. So it was 24. So if you got to be by that hook, you got hosed if you took the over in that first half of the Georgia and Arkansas game.
And there goes that Georgia defense again.
Great defense.
So, Gator, moving on, do you have a You Got Hosed story for this week?
Oh yeah, Joe. Like you kind of brought up with Charles, it's real easy to say that the Patriots nation got hosed. But I think Mac Jones got hosed even more. We all know that Jones outplayed Brady, and we know that Mac is limited on his options down the field. He doesn't have the weapons. But when Belichick made that decision to kick the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 3, I think that's where Jones got hosed. You are playing in the rain. You have a hurt kicker. You have a 48% chance of making that kick statistically. Mac Jones has a 52% chance of making the first down statistically, and he was having no problems deking and dunking the ball down the field the whole game. So if you had the New England money line, you got hosed, the Patriots nation got hosed, and Mac Jones got the worst of it. He should have had a win over the GOAT for his first time out, and Mac Jones got hosed.
Yeah, well, he did get the ball to the post. He hit the upright, not the crossbar. The distance was there. The accuracy was not. So, yeah, in hindsight, they should have went for it.
Do you think that was, when I was watching that and Belichick made that call, that was so un-Belichick-like to me?
I didn't really expect him to make it with the weather such as it was.
Exactly, and I just don't understand that decision. It didn't seem like a Belichick decision. I don't know.
He took the conservative route.
Yeah.
He went for the easier shot. But, if he doesn't make the 4th down, then he's going to wish he kicked it.
I don't remember how much time was on the clock, but Joe, if they would have made that 4th down, they could have killed out more time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Patriot fans got hosed.
Everybody got hosed there. Joe, do you have a story? You got hosed story?
Well, yeah, I got hosed again on another one of my parlays, a halftime bet, a 7-team parlay. I've got 6 winners in already, and the under second half in the Buffalo game is my 7th leg. Scores 33-0 with like 6 minutes left. No reason for Buffalo to score, right? The Bills bring in Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. Good, right? They're just going to hand the ball off, keep Josh Allen from getting hurt. Wrong. Trubisky completes a pass, runs for 10 yards himself, including a 4-yard touchdown with 3 minutes left. Talking about rubbing it in, final score 40-0, and I got hosed.
Big time. You got hosed, Joe.
You got hosed.
So that's it for this week. I'd like to thank my guests Charles O'Loughlin, Big Richard Martin, Ronnie McKinnon, and Gator Gates, our producer, our engineer, our editor, and everyone for listening. We'd like you to visit our Covering the Field website, and we'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Give us your feedback, your You Got Hosed moments, and any other comments you'd like to give us. And find us on Twitter at Covering Field. And a special thank you again to all the firefighters and first responders battling the Nevada and California wildfires. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and you'll hear us again next week on another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and Lesage production.